You're about to watch me read The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. I think I have pretty high expectations for this book just because it sounds so interesting and the cover is beautiful, which I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I can't help it, I always do. And it just sounds so cool. It's like time travel-y, it's got like action and adventure and mystery, like everything all into like one. And so that's why I expect it to be really, really cool. And I really hope that it's gonna be as awesome as I expect it to. So from my understanding, The Book of Doors is basically a story about a woman named Cassie, and she works at a bookstore and she loves it. She talks to the customers, she has those regulars, all that really great stuff, and she loves to hear their stories. And there's this one like older gentleman in particular who they always chat it up and they have a really great time just sharing stories and talking to each other. But unfortunately, he passes away, but he leaves behind the Book of Doors for her. And it basically is like any door that she needs, she'll be able to get. And I think this is where like the time travel, maybe I'm just making up that this time travel, but this is like a magical book and she's like, oh, interesting. But then there's like these people who start showing up trying to also get this book, and they're willing to do anything that it takes to get this book, even if that means like committed very, very violent crimes. And so, yeah, I'm excited. It sounds really good. And I'm really excited to see like where it's gonna go, what it's gonna be. I feel like there's gonna be some twists and turns as well throughout. So without further ado, let's read this book. I'm more than 100 pages into The Book of Doors, and here are my thoughts so far. This book is already surpassing my expectations with how magical and well written it is, and just how interesting it is, because I didn't realize when reading this book that The Book of Doors, there's more than one book in this world. And so The Book of Doors, essentially the idea behind it is that any door is every door. As long as you can visualize what the door to a place looks like, you can open up any door and end up coming out of that door that you were imagining. However, you can't do it with locked doors. So to go through a locked door, you have to go through an unlocked door to get to the locked door, if that makes sense. And it's really, really cool, and it's really magical. So the characters are just like picturing these areas, and then boom, suddenly you're in Spain, boom, suddenly you're in France, like all this cool stuff just from one door. So it's really cool. But it's not all fun and games as the main character thinks it is, because there are other books and there's this whole like community of book hunters. So people who are specifically looking for these special types of books. And The Book of Doors, everybody thought it was a myth. It hasn't been seen in like centuries. And so now that it's popped up again with someone who doesn't realize the value of it and the danger that it possesses, she's kind of in trouble now, because all these book hunters are like, oh, we need that book. And there's different types of books. There's the Book of Shadows, which is cool because you tear out a page and you basically go invisible. There's the Book of Memories that takes away people's memories. There is the Book of Despair, where you can basically make someone super depressed for the rest of their entire life, which is pretty cruel. There's the Book of Control that kind of controls gravity in a way, like it can lift people and objects up, down, left and right, toss them around, all this stuff. And I imagine there's so many more as well. Oh, there's the Book of Luck as well, where it's just like a good luck charm. You carry it with you and good stuff will happen, or you'll encounter people who for whatever reason will bring good luck to you. And so I think that's really cool as well. So we have our main character, who's Cassie, and she and her best friend Izzy are kind of playing around with the Book of Doors. There's also this man named Drummond Fox, and he comes from pretty much like a generation of librarian book people. So these special books, there's the Fox Library, where they keep these special books away from people who will do bad things with them. And so right now he's kind of on the run because there's somebody named the Woman who's been killing people with these who have these special books and stealing their books. So he's on the run, but he's also trying to find books that he can protect in his library. And he's a pretty cool guy. I really like his character so far. He seems really honorable and he seems like a good guy. The Woman honestly really freaks me out because she is a monster. She had told when we get her kind of chapters, She mentions what she did to her mom and her dad. She loves spreading pain and misery. She has the Book of Despair. And she saw, like, for example, this one really happy, like, little girl, maybe like 7 years old or something. She's like, this kid's too happy. Basically, like, uses her Book of Despair, and that kid's just like super depressed for the rest of the life. And the person like kind of hinted that like, oh yeah, like this kid won't last that long now because of like how depressed she was. And this woman loves doing that kind of stuff. So she's hunting down these people and she's torturing people, and she's pretty messed up, to be honest. And yeah, she's a pretty interesting villain because she's just so not right in the head. They also have chapters focused on this guy named Akai, I believe, and his bodyguard. And he has a book of illusions, and so it's exactly as it sounds, like he can create kind of illusions and stuff. And he's looking for books as well. He's like a book hunter. And so he kind of has his own story going on. And so these are all of the different stories that are happening right now. And I think it's really cool. I think the world, like takes place obviously in like the modern world, but I think like this world, this little secret aspect of it, of people with these magical books, is really, really cool. And I'm really excited to see like what other magical books are there, what is going to happen, how are these characters going to kind of interact, what's going to happen with the woman. She's pretty scary. I really hope that she doesn't hurt anybody, because like Izzy and Cassie are pretty young, I would say. They don't really know what's going on, so I can't imagine how like horrible it would be if the woman found them. Honestly, if the woman finds anybody, it's pretty scary. Yeah, so far I'm really enjoying this book. It's really fun. It's really magical. It's just really good. I'm having a really good time with this. I'm going to continue to read the Book of Doors, and I'll update you around the halfway point. So I will see you in my next update. More than halfway through the Book of Doors, and oh my goodness, there's time travel. I love time travel in stories so much, especially when characters get to go and see characters who are no longer around anymore and like have a conversation with them and really just get that off their chest, which is why I really like that series Before the Coffee Gets Cold, because it's pretty much, that's the whole premise of it. Go back in time, have those conversations with that person you were never able to have before, and it does something to my heart. It's so sad, but also so heartwarming and so tragic and so many different things. And everything that's happened with the time travel, honestly, I screamed at the part that happened, I think right before part 3 or right after part 3. And I was like, what? No way. And then how other characters are, everything's starting to weave together. Like you get these kind of hints and you see these things at the beginning of the book that now you're starting to see how that happened, and I think that that's really, really cool. I'm really enjoying this book. I think the only thing, and it was just something I was thinking about yesterday, which I honestly somehow it didn't even cross my mind until I was going to go to bed, is that these characters don't really have like that much personality. They're pretty bland, to be honest, and I wonder if it's because you're supposed to put yourself in that character, like you are that character in a way. I'm not sure, but that's the only thing that I'm just like, huh. I'm surprised, because I really, really like the story, and usually for me it's all about the characters, but these characters are honestly a little bit bland. But I think because of the time travel and like the constant fear and action and everything that's happening in just this whole world of these like special books is so awesome and so captivating that it didn't even cross my mind that these characters are a little bit plain. I can't spoil it for you, but 2 of the characters who I think might be romantically involved, I'm thinking that now that that's possible because of the time travel thing that happened. And I'm like, yes, if there's gonna be romance, it's gonna be so many of my favorite things: time travel and romance and magic and fantasy, and I'm having such a great time. Oh, there was also this really cool book that we learned about, the Book of Memories. So you can literally experience someone else's memory and their thoughts and really everything that they were thinking at that time. And so I think that that's really cool as well, because one of the characters was able to see something bad that happened and felt how guilty that person felt during that moment. So you really get to understand the other characters and why they did certain actions. So I'm really loving all of these really, really cool different types of books. And what I really like about our villain, the woman, is that you don't see her really. She had like one chapter, and I think that makes her scarier, because when you don't know enough about a villain and you just kind of hear what the characters have experienced, for me at least, that makes the villain scarier than actually seeing them do scary things, because like you don't know where they are, what are they up to, like are they gonna pop out of nowhere and like start attacking everybody and stealing books? Like I don't know, but honestly the woman like really freaks me out. I think something else that I really love about this book is how much this book appreciates books, if that makes sense, because obviously it's about secret books, and the character worked at a bookstore, and the person who gave her the book loved books as well. And so I think that's another thing that really resonates with me as somebody who obviously loves books, that the characters love books and the book is about loving books. And like, it's really cool. It's like books and magic, and there's just so much going on. There's so much going on. I love it so much. I'm having a really good time with this book. I'm really like sad that I'm almost done this book. Like I don't want it to end. It's so magical and so fun, but I'm also like scared because of like you're gonna have to encounter the villain at some point, and I don't know, I'm like really freaked out about this lady. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to read the Book of Doors, and I will update you either like a little bit towards the end or when I finish this book. So I will see you in my next update. I finished the Book of Doors, and this is the time travel kind of story that I was craving. This was such a like high intensity, dark, nerve-wracking kind of story, and I love the time travel aspect so much because it's like something's happening, you get a little bit of a hint at it, but you don't really think much of it, and then like halfway through the book it's like boom, 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 and you're like, whoa, like that makes so much sense. Like it was all hinted at, it was all like weaved together, every single piece of this book. It was pretty cool. Like, oh. And it's so hard not to spoil it because like that's what makes this book so good. All of those whoa, like those light bulb moments that you get when reading this book. This whole book is like a light bulb moment. Even the first page of this book, like the chapter is called The Quiet Death of Mr. Weber, and literally the first line says, Kellner Books on the Upper East Side of New York City. A few minutes before his death, John Weber was reading the Count of Monte Cristo. And I think that's a really good way. You're being introduced immediately to the setting, one of the most important characters of the entire book. And it's beautiful. Everything about this book, like the way that the scenes were handled, the really like terrifying aspects of the villains in this book, the time travel, how it starts off like, oh, time travel is so fun and cute, and then it's like, oh no, it's not fun and cute. What was unique about this time travel as well is whatever you do in the past isn't going to change your future, because like you're living in that time period already, so the stuff you did in the past has already happened. And I thought that was a really fun take on time travel, because most of the time it's you have this universe that you're living in, you go back in time, you do something, and it changes everything, like the butterfly effect. This is not that type of time travel book. This is the type of time travel book that everything that's happened has already happened. And I think that that's really cool, because you start to discover these little tiny things as you're following along these characters, and it's like, whoa, this character did that, which resulted in that, and this happened because of that happened, whoa. Like, there's just so much, and I thought it was so good. And the 10 years, whew, that is devastating. Everything about that. What I like about this book as well is like 10 years can mean two different things, and if you read the book, you know what those two different things are, and if you haven't read the book, you only know what one of them is, and I'm like, The 10 years was like, wow. I actually think I would have liked to see more of that, but I think that it was handled pretty well. I think it was paced pretty well because it wasn't the main part of the book, but it did highlight some kind of aspects that were happening throughout the book and the relationships being formed. And there's just something about characters being able to see characters who passed away and finally getting to talk to them that just like, it hurts my soul, but it's also like really comforting at the same time. But this isn't like a comforting book, but for whatever reason, I found it comforting while also at the same time stress inducing, which completely polar opposites. So I don't know, feel like I'm not explaining this well, but that's time travel for you. I will say that this book was a lot darker and more graphic than I ever would have expected. So as somebody who does not have a very good stomach when it comes to that kind of stuff, I was like, ugh, like a couple of times. It's the kind of stuff that if you're reading like a Stephen King book, suddenly it's just like really, really grotesque for a bit, and then it kind of goes back into the normal, less gross stuff. So there were definitely some really disgusting scenes in this book, but it really just highlighted the power of these books, the evilness of the villains, all of that. And the villains were real messed up, really messed up. I also think what was cool is that you also get to see that the villains aren't 100% evil. Like everybody has some kind of redeeming quality to them, but it's being overshadowed by like the evil part, which is like, it was fun. And the amount of plot twist in this book blew my mind, like over and over and over and over. I would say some of the plot twists, yeah, you can guess them, but not, I don't think you can guess all of them. I mean, maybe you can, but I couldn't guess all of them. And yeah, I really love the feeling of just like being surprised in a book. It's just so much fun, and this book really did that. However, I would say the characters are not very strong in this book. They're very surface level characters. You could probably just put anybody there and be like, oh yeah, that's me, or that's George down the street for our main characters. So there wasn't too much going on about them. They were very, very, very just eh. But I still like the book nonetheless. I think it's because the characters, like I said, they're not really in depth, but they're enough that you can just kind of attach yourself as the character, if that makes sense. And then it's kind of like you are the characters and your kind of experience in this, which is like very odd because one of my least favorite things is when characters are not developed. But for whatever reason, that didn't bother me as much as it usually does because of just how obsessed I was with all of the books and the magic and the time travel and the stakes and the bad guys and all that. I think the one part though that I felt like was really incomplete was when they were talking about a specific illusion as part of their plan. I feel like that was just forgotten. I don't know, like I feel like something was just forgotten. I thought that we were gonna see like the illusion of the library or something, but I guess not. I don't know. That was the only part that felt really incomplete to me, but everything else I think was paced really well. I think it was written really well. I think that it was just like a really fun ride. So I will be awarding The Book of Doors a total of 4.5 stars. When I first started reading this book, I thought it was gonna be a 5-star book, but the characters not being that well developed and that unsolved part about the illusion that, I don't know, maybe I missed it or something, but it felt like a little bit too rushed, I think. Like everything was paced really well, and then you get a bit towards the end when you're getting that final conclusion, and it felt like it was too much like bam, 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 bam. And I think I would have liked to see it play out a little bit more. But aside from that, like the book was really, really good. If you like time travel, if you like thriller, it's really like a time travel thriller. There's not really any romance in it. There's hints of romance, but I actually kind of really like that it was hints of romance, but not like romance centered, which is funny at being a romance lover. But this was a really, really fun read. Time travel, magic, this whole complicated world, the system, and it was pretty good. It was a pretty fun time. So the next book that I'll be reading is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. And I'm really excited about this because it seems like a summertime fake dating comedy rom-com. And I dig that. If you know, and if you watch a couple of my videos, anytime I read a book that's like way darker, and this one was really gruesome in times, I always like to do a bit of a palette cleanser. And so this just looks like a palette cleanser, and it sounds really funny. It seems like one of these characters feel like she's cursed for love because anytime she dates someone, that person goes on to find their soulmate. And then the guy, I don't even know how this happens, but on Reddit, he's known as like a good luck charm. And so she thinks that because he's a good luck charm and everybody that she dates ends up finding their soulmate, they end up fake dating to find their soulmates. And so you can imagine where that will end up leading, I'm sure. And so yeah, it just sounds like a really fun read. So if you're interested in watching me read Just for the Summer, or Brandon Sanderson, or Emily Henry, or I have just ordered an Elise Silver book that one of my long-term subscribers, Poppy, has recommended to me, so that will be coming soon as well. So if you're interested in any of those and you haven't already, definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video and if you love time travel and are obsessed with it like I am, definitely hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!